Welcome to another episode of the Mystery Pokemon Design Challenge. In this series, patrons and other members of my community pick a Pokemon and give me 2 Pokédex entries for it, but don't tell me what that Pokemon is. I take those 2 Dex entries and try to come up with a brand new Fanmon that fits them. And in the process, I also try to figure out what the original Pokemon was. I'll show you my creation process, which also gives you a chance to try to guess the Pokemon, and after I show you what I've come up with, then we'll find out what the Pokemon was. These are the 2 Dex entries that I was given. Its wings and antenna don't cope well with moisture. After a rain, it faces sunward to dry off. It flaps its 4 wings to hover and fly freely in any direction, to and fro and sideways. What Pokemon immediately comes to mind for you? For me, it was the Dragonfly Pokemon Yanma and Yanmega, or the Antlion Pokemon Vibrava and Flygon. I was told those were all wrong, so I started to brainstorm, but because I immediately went to the Dragonfly, I felt that was too obvious, and I tried to force myself to come up with a more unexpected concept. The first image that popped into my head was essentially like a robotic Hoppip with 4 helicopter wings on top, sort of like a drone. And the second one was a 4-winged ornithopter, a flying machine that flies by flapping its wings like a bird, and also a monster in Monster Sanctuary. You should play that game. I tried to develop those ideas into something that could actually work as a Pokemon, but I was feeling a little bit stuck, so I requested a 3rd Dex entry to help guide my thoughts a little more. But unfortunately, once I saw this new entry, I pretty quickly figured out what the Pokemon they came from was. Faced with the choice between asking for an entirely new Pokemon and having to start from scratch, or just doubling down on the ideas I already had, I decided to go with the latter option. And in the end, that 3rd Dex entry didn't really play into my final concept, so I'm not gonna tell you what it is. Maybe I'll give it to you at the end as a final hint. Here's the concept I settled on. I took the drone Hoppip idea and found the perfect way to marry the grass type and the helicopter sides of it. A maple seed. Maple seeds are also called helicopter seeds because of the way they rotate as they fall to the ground. So I came up with this design that is basically a remote-controlled helicopter where the rotor blades are all shaped like maple seed paddles. The head design is directly inspired by helicopter pilot helmets, and the tail or rudder or whatever is a very simplified maple leaf. As usual, I don't have a name for this little guy, so I'll take your suggestions in the comment section. I imagine it's a grass and steel type with the levitate ability. This first stage already takes care of most of the elements from those Pokédex entries. It has 4 wings, it can hover and move in any direction, and it doesn't cope well with moisture. Maple seeds don't fly very well when they're wet, and neither do remote-controlled helicopters. I'm still missing an antenna, although to be honest, I kind of ignored the antenna. And the Pokédex does specifically mention that it flaps its wings, and that'll come in with its evolution. This design actually developed from that ornithopter concept that I showed at the start. I still wanted to keep the artificial flying machine motif. And what can flap its wings like a bird, but still hover and move in any direction? A hummingbird. Specifically, I was thinking of the Rufus hummingbird, which we have around here, and the males have a bright red patch on the neck, so I gave it a red maple leaf pattern. It still has the same maple seed wings and maple leaf tail, but now reconfigured into a bird shape, and the pattern on the wings is meant to make it look more bird-like, almost like feathers. I think this one is a grass and flying type, since the flying machine part of the concept is less prominent, so the steel type would fall to 3rd place priority. Most of the time that I do these mystery Pokemon, I end up coming up with a mon that is either a single stage or that evolves once. So I really wanted to come up with a 3-stage family this time. But I couldn't really come up with a progression that I thought fit the concept and that was interesting enough. So instead I went with a split evolution. This guy flies around looking for a place to land, and if it doesn't find one, or if it's just happy to keep flying around, it'll evolve into this one. You see, it doesn't even have feet to land with. But if it does find a good spot with lots of sun, it can settle and evolve into a proper tree. But what kind of tree would an artificial seed grow into? Perhaps a solar tree, a tree-shaped array of solar panels. So after that seed finds a place to land, it evolves into this big guy, who certainly doesn't fly around much, but does absorb a lot of sunlight and convert it into electricity. For the shape of the leaves and the style of the trunk, I was specifically looking at the big leaf maple, which is another local species with huge leaves, although I did simplify their shape a fair bit. This is also still meant to be a solar tree though, so I couldn't give it a truly dense canopy. The stems on the leaves are vaguely lightning shaped, the eyes resemble on-off switches, and there is a plug pattern on its trunk to show that this mon is now a grass and electric type, probably with the solar power ability. The plug design might be a bit too on the nose, but I mean, tons of electric types have lightning bolt patterns somewhere on their body, so I think this is okay. And here's a look at the whole family. I think it's not my best design work, but I am pretty satisfied with them overall, especially considering how terrible my ideas were to start with. Alright, before I reveal the Pokemon, here's that third dex entry that allowed me to figure it out. Its thin, wing-like antennae are highly absorbent. It waits out rainy days in tree hollows. So, last chance, you know what it is? Yeah! Masquerade, the Pokemon that evolves from a water type, whose head is shaped like a water drop, who learns water sport by level up, the move that intentionally makes the field wet. Can't fly well when it's wet? No wonder I didn't get it! Anyway, give me your name suggestions for these guys and let me know what you thought of their concept and design. If you want to suggest Pokemon and obscure dex entries for the next Mystery Pokemon Design Challenge, you can leave them in the comments, or better yet, become a patron or a YouTube channel member to join my community on Discord and participate directly in choosing my next subject. Thank you everyone for watching, and thank you to those of you who already do support me through Patreon and YouTube channel memberships, especially luxury patron Ethan from Chicago. I'll see you all in the next chapter.